there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be another learning episode on learning really Warmachine and Hordes. Now, I already did the last video, which was really talking about just Warmachine 101, just how do you play the game, and this video here will really be focusing on the difference between Focus and Fury. Now, Focus, that's the mechanic from Warmachine. So your caster, your war caster, will just get focus every turn, and that's the way it is. If you're a warlock, however, for the horde side, you're going to get fury. So on the first turn, you'll get your fury just as if you were a warlock, but then that's where things change. So what we're going to cover here is how those two mechanics work and the benefits and the drawbacks really from each. So really looking on the focus side, which is the really the easiest part, is at the start of your turn, you'll get all of your focus allocated. You get to then allocate it to whatever jacks you want within your control area, up to 3 per jack. And then from those, that's where they use those focus points in order to be either running or charging or buying attacks or boosting damage or boosting your attack roll or doing power attacks, or maybe you're forcing yourself to stand up, stuff like that. That's what you're using your focus for. Now on the horde side, it's a little bit different. If this was the first turn, my two armies look almost exactly the same because I would have all my fury here, I'd have all my focus here on the first turn. However, past that, I now have to generate it from my actual beasts. So what I do is that if I want to charge, first of all, in order to charge, I have to have all my spirits, just like they need to have a cortex, and I have to be within the control range of my warlock. So if I want to, this guy, if I'm going to force him to charge here, basically it'll cost me 1 fury, and then I can go through my thing. Now, whereas over here for the war jacks, you had a maximum of 3 that you put in each jack. On the beast, it's actually specific per the beast. So the beast will have a fury stat that says how many fury it can take. So this Warpwolf Stalker can have 4 up to it onto it, whereas Laris can just have 3. And then you have others like a Shredder, a little lesser war beast that might have 2. You might have others like Mulg that can have 5. But for the most part, heavies have 4, lights have 3. Now, past that as well, when I charge in, that costs me 1. I force for 1 to charge. If I want to boost to hit, I would have to force for another 1. I could force for doing a power attack. I could force for buying attacks. It really is exactly the same as the focus system. However, instead of starting with focus being allocated to a jack and then taking it off, I am now adding it on. And, you know, even though I have a maximum of 6 that I can use, there's nothing stopping me from then saying, okay, Laris, charge. And then I'm going to force you to boost damage, you automatically boost on the charge, just like the Warjacks, but then I'm going to buy an attack. And right here, even though I can have a max of 6, I already have 7 Fury out. Now, this is where you really get to some of the interesting parts of it. So let's say I do Ikaya and I cast spells and stuff, and I get rid of all that Fury. They have their turn. Back to my turn, the first thing that happens now from turn 2 and on is I don't get automatic fury on myself. I have to go and leech it off my beasts. So I can't go above my stat. So Epic Kaya's stat is 6. So I could say, okay, I'm going to take 4 from the Warpwolf Stalker. I'll take 2 from Laris. And all of a sudden I have 6. I can't take any more. Well, that means that now Laris is going to have to do a threshold check. Now, just like they have a Fury stat, they also have a threshold check. And the way it's going to work is that after I'm done pulling off whatever Fury I want to, I'm going to have to now do a test. And I mean, let's say I didn't pull it all off because I was camping one. You know, I'd have to roll for each of these. Or I could say, okay, I'll leave 2 here so that this one's safe, and this one over here will have an even better chance, or worse chance, whatever way you want to say it, of actually frenzying. Now, the way that you would deal with that is that if my frenzy stat here, my threshold stat is 9, I would roll my dice. I would add the number of fury left on it, and if that is above its threshold check, then it would frenzy. So right now, 4 plus a 2 is 6. I'm fine. But if I rolled something like this, it's going to frenzy. Now, the way a frenzy works is that the first thing it's going to do is it's going to get a boosted attack and damage roll against something. Now, it doesn't matter, or it does matter rather, if you have your mind out or your body out. That would mean that if my mind's out, I'm only going to roll 2 dice. But it's always boosted, right? So normally it'd be 2 dice. If you're having your mind out, then your -1 dice will be 2. But basically, you're just adding that extra dice in there. Now, the first thing that he'll try and do, if this one frenzies, is trying to attack something that is within melee range of it. So right now, I have this guy right here in melee. It'd be boosted a hit, boosted damage, and bam. I just did a whole bunch of damage there. Now, what happens if I have a situation like this? Well, if I'm in melee with both friendly and enemy, I'm going to hit the enemy. So that's good. If this guy's out of melee, then all of a sudden, I'm going to hit my friendly model. So that can be really, really dangerous. If both of these units are out, he will charge the closest enemy model first. So, bam, he'll charge that. However, if with my front arc, if I'm something like this, and the rest of the bad guys are over here, all he can see is Laris, so he's going to go and charge Laris. So, yeah, it can be pretty dangerous where you can hit your own guys. Now, what happens after that? Let's say it was good news. I went and he did an extra attack to him. Well, what happens is that if I do that attack and I frenzied, once I'm done, I can choose either to pull off the fury or rile as I wish. And I mean, it really depending on the situation. Sometimes you want to take it off. Sometimes you want to leave it on or add more. But that's up to you. After that, he's done. He does not activate this turn. So that's really, really bad. Sometimes it's not as bad. Let's say you're just a tiny little lesser that's probably going to do one big boosted attack anyway. Okay, that's not so bad. But losing a heavy activation to one attack, that can be a big deal, especially if you wasted it attacking your own model. Now, what happened if I passed? What happened if I rolled that 7 and plus 2 is 9? If he's threshold 9, hey, everything's good. Well, what happens is that fury stays on him. Now, it's good that he didn't frenzy because now he's not going off charging random things. However, it's also bad because now I'm limited for what I can do this turn because I already have 2 fury down. So not only does this beast can only do so much work, because again, he can still only go up to his maximum of 4, but as well, I'm limited in the work I can do because if I really want to force and do a lot of things this turn, I'm just going to frenzy again next turn as well, or at least have to take the test. So that's a big difference between the Warmachine and the Hordes. The Warmachine is dead easy, right? For the Warmachine, I can allocate whatever I want. If I don't use it, it's no big deal. Then all of a sudden, I'll just get it back next turn. The Horde side, you have to really make sure you're balancing and planning out your turn so that at the end of my turn, I know, okay, I'm camping 1. I got 2 here. I got 3 on Laris. Okay, that's 6. I'm good to go. Now, another way of how this actually works and what it does for you, and I keep dropping my fury on the floor, is the whole idea of transfers and camping your focus or camping your fury. Now, if you are a warlock, again, it's actually very, very simple. If I am camping any amount of focus, that just adds to my armor. So I can't really remember offhand. I think P Striker's armor 15, but if he is armor 15 and I'm camping 3, then I'll be effectively armor 18, which is really nice to have, right? Just automatic. If I don't need to use this, hey, it's always armor. On the Horde side, if I'm ever camping this stuff, I can use it to transfer. So let's say Ikaya is somewhere more up in the front. The Ironclad gets to me and wallops are good, right? Well, the nice thing is that even though these don't increase my armor, I can use these to transfer damage. So whatever the roll is, I can say, whoa, I don't want to take that. I will spend 1 to transfer, and it'll go on to this beast here. They'll have to roll a column to see where it goes, and if it kills it, then any remainder will go back to my caster. And so what you really see here is that whereas the Warcaster really camping focus helps it a lot from a lot of smaller strength attacks, right? If you're being hit by things that won't be doing much damage, plinking 1 or 2, camping this will make sure that you're basically not taking any damage anymore. However, if you take those big, huge hits, you are taking it. There's no way out. Meanwhile, over here, if you take those big, huge hits, you're safe because you can transfer them away. However, if those little tiny plinky things, it always sucks to have to transfer a damage or 2. As well, you have to remind yourself that that's going to have to work into your formula of how much you're going to have Fury down. So if on my turn I figure, oh no, they're going to be trying to get me, I might want to be camping 2, and then maybe I have, here I'm going to lay these out so it's easier to see. Maybe I have 3 up onto the Warp Wolf. Maybe I have another 3 onto Laris. And normally, if you count this up, you're saying, well, you're playing crazy, right? You got 6 focus on beasts alone, 2 on yourself. You're a fool, right? You can't take that all back up. But if you're planning on being attacked and transferring that damage, all of a sudden, it's the perfect 6 that you wanted. However, if your opponent sees that and then doesn't go for the caster, now you're making threshold checks. Now, another important thing to remember of how this works is that if a beast is maxed out, so right now, both of these have 3 Fury. However, since this one can go up to 4, it's not maxed out, but Laris is a maximum of 3, so it is maxed out. So that means that Kaya cannot transfer to Laris. So another thing you have to watch out for is if I would have forced my Stalker to go to 1 more, and he comes at me, I cannot transfer because I cannot transfer it to either of the beasts. So that's something you really have to keep in mind. Now, another thing you can keep in mind as well is that if I'm running a little bit hot like this, I got 4 on the Stalker, I got 2 on myself. If he comes up here and kills my Stalker, I can do something called reaving. So if he's within my control area, I can either choose to take all the Fury or none of the Fury. And at this point here, I would say, well, I only have 5 other Fury on the board, so I might want to take some. However, if I take all those 4, I'm not going to be able to take anything off Laris. So I don't really want that. Something to keep in mind, though, is that if I transfer damage and it kills a beast, I can't reave. It has to be destroyed by an enemy attack. Not by transferring. I can't use Laris to kill this guy and then reave it. No, it has to be destroyed by an enemy attack. So really, that's how it works. You can also use Fury to heal your beasts. So whereas over here on the Warmachine side, if I lose a system, if I lose my hammer, if I don't have a way of repairing it, if I don't have a mechanic or something like that, I just can't fix that arm. Over here, if I lose an aspect, so one of my branches, be it the mind, the body, or the spirit, I can use Ikaya's focus on her turn, on her activation, to heal 1-for-1 boxes from one of my war beasts in my control area. So if all of a sudden his mind's out, if I go first with Epic Kaya, I can use 1 to heal 1, and then all of a sudden he hasn't lost a spiral anymore. And so that's where we really see an advantage to the beast. So not only is it a thing where if I take damage here, I can just heal it, and it's like I'm not damaged at all. Whereas on the Warjack side, there's only so much damage you can take before you start losing systems, and if you don't have a backup, you can't fix it. The other part is how much work you can get done with these guys. So over here, I can allocate 3 to this guy, and he can come in, he has 2 initials, he can buy 3. For myself, I can have 2 initials, and then I can buy 4. And so right there, I have a little bit more extra work I can get done from this guy. As well, if we start multiplying this to the force, if we have 3 heavies, there's only so much focus I can allocate with Striker. Meanwhile, on the Horde side, there's nothing stopping me from just throwing down all the Fury I want and effectively having a turn where I'm using 20 or whatever Fury, right? Over here, you can only have a turn worth 6, and over here, I can have a turn that's the equivalent of, again, it all depends on how many I have, but with Epic Thagrosh and all my Shredders, I've had turns where I have over 40 Fury down on the table. It's insane. And so what you really get there is you have people saying that there's a huge advantage for Hordes because you have the ability to heal, you have the ability to transfer, you have a lot more access and potential is probably a good way of putting it. However, you have to play the game a lot more carefully. You have to really watch that system, see how it works. And as well, whereas the War Beasts are really good for that alpha. I get in there, I can spend all my Fury. You find the Warcasters do better late game. Because as we start going through and we start losing models, whereas the Warcasters gain the same focus every single turn, if I don't have any beasts to get my Fury from, I have only one choice. I either have no Fury or I have to cut myself. You can start taking damage to get Fury. No more than your maximum allowance, but still, I am now slowly dying. Whereas over here, they're just going to be camping all this. And as well, if I am losing beasts and I have no one to transfer to, I can't transfer. It's just what I just said. Meanwhile, this Warcaster, hey, I'm Striker, I'm camping 6. Just try and kill me. Oh, you can't do that? Boom, you're dead. So there really is that to keep in mind. So really, as you can probably see there, the system for Warmachine is way easier. I just have focus, I get at the start of each of my turns, and it's very simple. Over here, there's a lot more I have to watch. I have to remember how I have to reave, how I have to leech, the way that frenzies work. And because of that, I usually try and steer new players away from the Horde side. But still, monsters are fun. Hey, it's a werewolf with a sword. So, if you like the look, you can deal with it. But just know that you have to spend that little extra time figuring out how it works. But then when you do, you can really use it to your advantage to get a lot more potential from the army. So either way, that's focus versus fury. And if you have anything else you want me to cover next time, please post it down below. And otherwise, we'll catch you then. Bye.